Bhagavate Vasudevaya Jigyasitam Susampanam Apite Mahad Adbhutam Kritavan Bharatam Yastvam Sarvartha Pari Bringpitam. Sri Narada Muni said, O Vyasadeva, your inquiries were full, and your studies were also well fulfilled. And there is no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful work known as Maha-Bharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained. Achintya khalu ye bhava natang starkina yojayit prakritibhya parang yachcha tad achintyasya lakshanam. Anything transcendental to material nature is called inconceivable, whereas arguments are all mundane. Since mundane arguments cannot touch that which is achintya, then one should not try to understand transcendental subjects through mundane arguments. Maha-Bharata Part 1, Chapter 9, the Gandharva Angaraparna. When the sun rose, the people of Ekachakra found the dead body of the demon Baka. They were astonished to see it lying there in a twisted mess, with its mouth and legs wide open. The citizens' hair stood on end, and their mouths fell open in amazement. Thousands of people gathered, all asking who had killed the Rakshasa. Gradually they realized that it had been the Brahmana's turn to take food to the demon the previous night. A noisy crowd soon gathered outside the Brahmana's house. While the Pandavas remained inside, the Brahmana spoke to the people. Aha! Yesterday, as I sat by the roadside, weeping at the very thought of myself and my family's plight, a Brahmana came by. When he found out the cause of my distress, he promised to deliver me and the town from this constant danger. Learned in the incantations which invoke celestial weapons, that Brahmana assured me that he would take the food to Baka on my behalf and kill him. He must have been successful at this inconceivable feat, because Baka now lies dead before us. The people looked at one another in wonder. They then laughed and shouted in joy, and they declared a festival for the Rakshasa's death. The Pandavas continued to live at the Brahmana's house, as Vyasadeva had instructed them. It had been months since that sage had last spoken with them, and they expected his return at any time. And so they passed their days in begging alms and studying the Vedic scriptures. One day, a wandering ascetic came to the Brahmana's house and accepted his invitation to stay for a few days. After he had been duly worshipped and fed by the Brahmana and his family, the ascetic told stories from his travels. The Pandavas listened along with the Brahmana's family. They heard about a great Swayamvara ceremony soon to be held in Kampilya for Draupadi, the daughter of King Drupada. The ascetic then said, Oh, this princess Draupadi was not born of a woman, but had been born along with her brother Drishtadyumna from a sacrificial fire. The Pandavas were intrigued. Oh, do tell us how it is possible that this Draupadi and her brother could appear from the sacrificial fire. We desire to hear everything you know about this. Oh, yes. Let me tell you the history. Some time ago, the sage Bharadwaj had once seen a divinely beautiful Apsara named Girtati, and as a result, Bharadwaj had dropped his semen. He caught this semen in a pot, and from that Drona was born. As a child, Drona had been friends with Drupada, who had come to study at the hermitage of Bharadwaj. After some time, after Drupada had left the hermitage, Drona heard that the invincible Brahmana warrior, Parashuram, was retiring to the forest and was giving away all of his possessions. Drona approached Parashuram asking for charity, and Parashuram replied,
"Having once rid this earth 21 times from the miscreant Kshatriyas, I am now without any wealth, for I have already given it to the Brahmanas. Now I only possess my body and my weapons. So tell me, which of these would you prefer, O Brahmana?"
"O Almighty Lord Parashuram, I want your celestial weapons along with the knowledge how to use them."
And so the Rishi bestowed his weapons upon Drona, who then left once again to see his friend Drupada. But by then, Drupada had become the king of Panchal.
The Pandavas listened as the ascetic told them what they had already heard from Drona himself, how Drupada had insulted Drona most terribly. Not knowing that it was the Pandavas who were listening, the ascetic told them how Drupada had then been overpowered by the Pandavas at Drona's command. After being humiliated by Drona and losing half of his kingdom, Drupada thought only of revenge. He knew he could never defeat Drona in battle, so he had gone to the forest seeking out a powerful Brahmana. Drupada knew that only a Brahmana's spiritual power could match Drona's military strength. And after some time, Drupada came across two Brahmana brothers named Yaja and Upayaja, descendants of Kashyapa Muni, a powerful son of Lord Brahma. Drupada worshipped and served the two Brahmanas for some time, and then asked for their assistance. He approached the younger of the two first, Upayaja, knowing him to be more powerful. Drupada asked Upayaja to conduct a sacrifice that would give Drupada a son capable of killing Drona. Drupada offered Upayaja 10,000 cows as payment, but the Brahmana replied, "No, sir. I shall not perform any act directed towards material gain, either for myself or for anyone else."
Disappointed, Drupada continued serving Upayaja in the hope that he might relent. Finally, after 1 full year, Upayaja took pity on Drupada and said, "Yes, I once saw my elder brother take up and eat a fruit from the ground without considering whether or not it was clean. When we were both boys, studying in the house of our guru, I often saw my brother eat the remnants of other people's food. So, one who has no regard for purity in one thing will not have such regard in another. Therefore, you should approach Yaja, for he will surely perform your sacrifice." And the Brahmana's words proved true. Yaja agreed to Drupada's proposal. Realizing what a difficult task Drupada had requested, Yaja engaged his younger brother, Upayaja, to assist him. Although Upayaja had no personal desire to perform Drupada's sacrifice, still he could not refuse his elder brother's request. Thus, the two Brahmanas went to Kampilya to perform a fire sacrifice intended to propitiate the gods headed by Lord Vishnu. And thus, Drupada would be able to get a son capable of killing Drona Acharya. And as the sacrifice commenced, King Drupada again spoke with Yaja, remembering the day he had been overpowered by Arjuna. Drupada asked the priest if, as well as a son, he might obtain a beautiful daughter whom he could offer to Arjuna as his wife. Drupada thought that if Arjuna became his son-in-law, then his happiness would be complete. Yaja replied,
Tatastu, it shall be so.
and Drupada joyfully sat down by the sacrificial fire along with his queen. As the ritual neared completion, Yaja called for Drupada's wife.
O queen, come quickly, for a son and daughter have now come for you.
Oh, Brahmana, at this very moment I am not pure. My mouth is filled with saffron, and my body is smeared with perfumes. So I am not ready to receive the sacrificial ghee.
O queen, whether or not you are ready, the object of this sacrifice which I have prepared and Upayaja has sanctified cannot be thwarted.
Yaja had then poured the oblation into the fire. Immediately there arose from the flames a godlike boy. He was encased in brilliant golden armor, and he shone like fire. He wore a bright crown upon his head and held a long bow and sword. That youth was terrible to behold, and he rose from the fire roaring. Stepping clear of the flames, he mounted the king's chariot and immediately rode about, displaying all kinds of skill.
The people of Kampilya shouted with joy upon seeing this boy who would fulfill Drupada's desire and kill his enemy Drona. As their cries of happiness resounded, a celestial woman then appeared from the fire. Her complexion was dark, and her smiling eyes were shaped like lotus petals. Her long and curling hair was bluish in color, and it fell down her back as she emerged from the flames. She had rising breasts and tapering thighs. At the end of her graceful fingers were nails which shone like bright copper. Her body emanated the sweet fragrance of blue lotus flowers, which could be perceived from a distance of 2 miles. That divine woman captivated the mind of every man who looked upon her. She had no equal even among the gods or Gandharvas.
And just then, the attentive audience heard a heavenly voice which spoke from the sky as soon as the boy and girl appeared. Booming like thunder, the voice said, "This dark-skinned beauty will be the best of all women, and she will be the cause of the destruction of the entire world's warriors. The boy shall be called Drishtadyumna, and he shall slay Drona Acharya." Drona heard about the prophecy, but considering destiny to be supreme, Drona nevertheless agreed to train Drupada's son, Drishtadyumna, in martial arts. The noble Drona Acharya did this only to repay Drupada for taking away half of his kingdom. Then the ascetic stopped speaking. Having heard that Drishtadyumna would kill their beloved teacher, the Pandavas felt as if their hearts had been pierced. Kunti saw their perplexity, and after they had retired for the evening, Kunti spoke to Yudhishthir.
We have lived here for many months, so I think it would be wise to leave now. You are all restless, and I also sense that you desire to go to Panchala for Draupadi's Swayamvara. Kunti had noticed that her son's eyes opened wide when the ascetic had described Draupadi's celestial beauty. Therefore, Kunti suggested that they leave the next day for Panchala. All 5 brothers agreed to Kunti's proposal, and the following morning they made their farewells to the Brahmana and his family. Walking in a line with Kunti in the middle, they then headed toward Panchala, traveling again through the forest.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Part 2.
On the first evening of their journey, as they sat around their fire, Vyasadeva arrived. Upon seeing the great sage, the Pandavas prostrated themselves at his lotus feet. They then stood with their palms folded as Vyasadeva offered them blessings. When everyone was seated, Vyasadeva spoke.
O conquerors of foes, are you following the path of virtue enjoined in the Shastras? Do you worship the Brahmanas? I do hope you always honor those worthy of your respect.
Vyasadeva spoke for some time, giving the attentive princes various instructions. At the end of his discourse, Vyas told them that they should try to win the hand of the princess of Panchala. Her father was setting an archery test in order to find Draupadi a qualified husband, so Arjuna should enter the contest. Vyasadeva then stood up to leave, and after again receiving obeisances from the Pandavas, Vyas vanished into the woods. Now, having been reassured by Vyasadeva's directions, the 5 brothers continued their journey the next day with joyous hearts. They walked day and night, eager to arrive at Panchala in time for the Swayamvara. And it was just after nightfall several days later when they came upon the gently flowing waters of the Ganga. Arjuna was leading the party with a torch in his hand to light their way. They all bowed respectfully to the sacred river before walking along her banks, searching for a place to cross. Suddenly, from out of the darkness, they heard a loud voice. "Halt! Who dares approach this river at such a time? The night belongs to Yakshas, Gandharvas, and Rakshasas. Only during the first portion of night, the twilight time, are other beings allowed to bathe. You appear to be human beings. Therefore, you must return the way you have come." Then suddenly, a shining figure emerged from the waters. He rose into the air and descended onto a golden chariot. Clasping a huge bow, he continued to address them in a thunderous voice.
I am Angaraparna, a friend of Kubera and a powerful Gandharva. I am bathing here, and not even the gods or demons dare come to this river when I am bathing. So how then have you humans been so bold? Leave quickly, or I will kill you. I fear no one." Arjuna could not tolerate the Gandharva's haughty speech. "Oh, you wretch! Rivers and mountains are never barred to anyone at any time. There is no such thing as a special time when we are not allowed to approach this sacred river Ganga, nor do we care for your threats. Only the weak would fear someone like you. Make way now, because we are going to bathe in this river." Angaraparna blazed with anger. He drew his bow and shot 100 arrows at the Pandava brothers. Arjuna moved with blinding speed, striking down all those shafts, simply with the torch he was holding.
Do not attempt to frighten those who are skilled in warfare. O Angaparna, your weapons simply vanished like froth on the ocean when hurled at more powerful opponents like myself. O Sky Ranger, I know you are superior to ordinary men in prowess, so therefore I shall use my celestial missile against you. This fire weapon I will now discharge was first given to Bharadwaj by Brahaspati. Bharadwaj then gave it to Agnivesha, who gave it to my preceptor Drona Acharya. Drona gave it to me. Now, guard yourself from its power if you can. Chanting the incantations in order to invoke the Agneya Astra, Arjuna imbued his torch with its tremendous power. Angrily, he threw it at Angaraparna, and his chariot was immediately destroyed, burnt black. The Gandharva fainted from the missile's force and fell headlong from the smoking chariot. Arjuna then seized Angaraparna by his hair, which was adorned with garlands of flowers, and dragged him before Yudhishthir. Suddenly, a celestial woman rushed out of the water and approached Yudhishthir. Folding her palms, she said,
"O most exalted one, I am Kumbhinashi, the wife of Angaraparna. Please bestow your mercy upon me and set my husband free. I seek your protection." Angaraparna then came to his senses and sat up before Yudhishthir, who spoke to him. "O Gandharva, who would slay one who has been vanquished in battle, who stands deprived of his fame, who is unable to protect himself, and who is being protected by a woman? Yes, you may go." Angaraparna then stood and offered respects to Yudhishthir. He spoke with humility. "Yes, my pride has now been crushed by your younger brother. My celestial chariot lies burnt to ashes. I had been known previously as Chitraratha, one who drives a beautiful chariot. But from now on, I shall call myself Dagdaratha, one possessing the burnt chariot." Angaraparna thanked Arjuna for not killing him, even though able. In return for Arjuna's mercy, Angaraparna offered Arjuna the divine knowledge possessed by the Gandharvas, along with the team of celestial horses. Smilingly, Angaraparna said, "This knowledge, known as Chakshushi, will give you the ability to see anything within the three worlds, along with that thing's intrinsic nature.
It is this knowledge that gives the Gandharvas their powers, which make them superior to human beings.
Angaraparna waved his hand toward the riverbank of the Ganga, and there the Pandavas saw a group of lustrous white steeds. These are the horses I wish to give you. They will go anywhere at their owner's will. They are said to be a portion of Indra's Vajra thunderbolt weapon and will always unfailingly fulfill your desire. O Gandharva, if you desire to give your knowledge and these horses in return for your life, then I shall not accept them. For it was my duty to release you upon my brother's order. I cannot accept charity, for that is never the duty of the Kshatriya, the ruling class. My dear Arjuna, this need not be charity. You are the best of the Bharata race. I desire to learn from you how to throw the fire weapon which you use to overpower me. Arjuna agreed to this exchange, but first he said he wanted to know why the Gandharva had challenged him and his brothers, although they were all virtuous men, learned in the Vedas, and born in a noble line of kings. O Arjuna, I have heard from Narada Rishi of your ancestors' great accomplishments. I also know your fathers personally, because Dharma, Vayu, Indra, the Ashvanis, and even Pandu all reside in heaven. And although I know you all to be high souls, virtuous, powerful, and obedient to your vows, nevertheless I censured you. For no man possessed of strength and arms ought to tolerate a confrontation in front of one's wife. So I was overpowered by wrath. Angaraparna then went on to explain why Arjuna had been able to defeat him, although he was a celestial. Because you have been observing a vow of celibacy, O hero, your power became insurmountable. If a warrior engaged in satisfying his desires fights with the Gandharvas at night, one will not escape with his life. Now, even a warrior who is not celibate could defeat a powerful enemy if that warrior is accompanied by a Brahmana priest. Men with learned and self-controlled priests can conquer the earth and acquire every good fortune, finally attaining even heaven itself. Therefore, O descendant of Tapati, you should seek out a qualified priest as your guide. Arjuna was listening very carefully. He was curious that Angaraparna addressed him as a descendant of Tapati. So Arjuna asked him,
As the sons of Kunti, we are known as the Kaukeyas. So why did you address us as Tapatyas? I have never heard this before. Part 3.
It was a long story. Angaraparna invited the brothers to sit comfortably on the riverbank while he recited the history of their distant ancestor, Tapati, daughter of the sun god. Tapati had descended from the heavens and married Sangvarana, an early king in the Pandavas line. The Gandharva narrated this history along with many other incidental stories. He spoke for much of the night, and the enthralled brothers could see the first faint glow of dawn when he finished his narration. Arjuna then spoke to Angaraparna. O Gandharva, you know everything and can see everything by dint of your divine vision. Please tell us where we can find such a Brahmana who knows the Vedas and who can become our priest. Yes, not far from here, there is a forest ashram called Utkachaka. There, a Brahmana named Daumya, who is the younger brother of the famous Rishi Devala, resides. So you should all approach Daumya, asking him that he become your preceptor. Seeing the Gandharva's friendship towards them and grateful for his advice, Arjuna gave Angaraparna the mantra by which he could call the Agneya Astra. And in return, Angaraparna again offered Arjuna the white horses. No, right now I will not take anything from you. Neither do I desire your knowledge, and I cannot take the horses at present. O best of Gandharvas, your friendship alone is sufficient. Perhaps if a time comes when we need these horses, then we shall take them.
Angaraparna and the Pandavas then saluted one another respectfully and took their leave. The Gandharva and his wife disappeared into the sky, leaving the Pandavas to continue on their journey. After Angaraparna left, the Pandavas went north along the bank of the Ganga toward where the Gandharva had indicated they would find the ashram of Daumya. The sun had now risen, and the Pandavas could see many rishis bathing in the river, wearing a single piece of cloth, and with their matted locks of hair tied in knots on their heads. The brothers could hear the sages reciting sacred hymns from the Vedas, some praising the sun god Suryadev, some worshipping Lord Shiva, the mighty destroyer, and others praying to the supremely powerful Lord Vishnu. The Pandavas took their own baths in the Ganga. Using the sacred clay from the riverbank, they daubed their bodies with markings, showing them to be Vaishnavas, devotees of Vishnu. Kunti entered the water fully clothed and then changed her dress in a secluded place. Constantly she thought of Krishna, praying that he would help them through all their difficulties.
The sages told the brothers where to find Daumya's hermitage. The Pandavas then approached Daumya, falling at his feet. It was Yudhishthir who spoke. O greatly learned one, we are the sons of Pandu, traveling with our mother Kunti. On the advice of Gandharva Angaraparna, we seek your shelter. Please become our guide and protector. We are your servants.
The effulgent Daumya smiled and bade them to be seated. His disciples brought the Pandavas offerings of wild fruits and water. As Daumya looked upon the 5 young princes and the gentle Kunti, the rishi felt affection rise in his heart. Daumya could see that they were worshippers of Vishnu, who was his own deity, and this too attracted him. Therefore, Daumya consented to become their priest. The Pandavas became overjoyed and felt as if their wealth and kingdom had already been regained and Draupadi won. Daumya then formally accepted the Pandavas as his disciples, initiating them with Vedic mantras.
Then the many sages in Daumya's ashram offered the princes their blessings. Seeing such godlike boys, the rishis felt that the Pandavas, by their own accomplishments, would soon become rulers of the whole world. Accompanied by Daumya, the Pandavas then continued on their journey to Panchala.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Tat Sat.